Okay, welcome to another episode of Cast. I'm your host, Reroll Zero, and I wanted to start off with this, just talking about Sonic Origins, mostly because I think Sonic Origins porting it is a bad idea, except for one or two things. Namely, I get it that the Sonic movies are doing well, so why not, uh, report or upload the games that are not definitively, but are for the most part good and develop well. And through a recent trend, or not trend really, I started playing what's it called? I started playing Force Unleashed 2 and Sonic Unleashed and a couple other games. And Force Unleashed 2 was unfortunately disappointing. Sonic Unleashed was a funny thing. Both have Unleashed in the title, um, but specifically speaking, um, Sonic Unleashed is bad for two reasons, and the reason specifically is uh, even though the daytime stages are enjoyable and they're short, and unfortunately they're short, they run into the same issue that every Sonic game has, and it's a real big case of the 2D ones. Specifically speaking, whenever you get a good run going, and then the platforming section stuff, and Sonic is not tuned because they never did that for a while. Sonic is never tuned. When it gets to the platforming stuff, it gets so much worse um, because the you have to make specific, and you have to make specific jumps, and it never works that way, and so end up falling half of the time. So until you spend enough time with it, it gets frustrating. So that's an issue with not just this game, but old Sonic titles in general. And what I was gonna say is, so they didn't have the bad platforming both in the speed sections and the Werehog sections. That's a big thing. If they spent a little bit more time making the beat 'em up sections enjoyable and not having so much bad platforming in them, it would have been at least a little bit better. Um, Other than that, I think what the point of this video is, what I'm trying to say, is I would rather them kind of put a whole collection out there, even the bad games like Unleashed and '06, and because they put out one of Sonic Colors, and I never played Colors before, but Colors was pretty enjoyable from what I tried, or I beat the game. I think the only poor section in Colors was the final fight against Eggman, where you're rushing down the space station, or the space elevator, as it were, because it kind of feels like it's a little bit not unfair, but just poor. Same thing with this boss fight, because the Eggman one is almost directly ripped from or directly stolen from another one of their Sega series, Phantasy Star, because this looks like a very Phantasy Star fight of Olga Flow for online one. Um, what I was gonna say specifically too is that I went back and finished both of these or this three in a row phase fight, which is annoying because there's the Eggman fight, and then there's the final fight against Dark Gaia or whatever, and then there's pure Dark Gaia with a lot of eyeballs or something, and you're supersonic, and both of them are just it's just a really poor fight. Specifically speaking, this one with Eggman, it's not so bad because it goes fast, but the one with Dark Gaia is so poor and stupid and annoying because your Chao supporting character Chip makes a Voltron out of ruins that you've gone to, and it's just really just awful. I skipped most of the cutscenes because I didn't care at this point. Like the overworld, you would think the overworld and going about towns would be the worst frustrating thing, but no, if you focused on the little more minor aspects of the game and made them less annoying and made them more like enjoyable and rewarding, I think you would have a more enjoyable game. But since like a large majority of the beat 'em up stages, the Werehog stages, later have really bad platforming sections, like the New York stage. The New York stage specifically, it's even worse because they have the little walkways, which you do the you do like you put your arms out and you balance on them, so it's a balance beams. But they have it worse where like there'll be sections that crumble and you'll fall, and what's even worse is you can't hang on the side because there's spikes on the side. So that's probably the penultimate worst of this game, is that all the platforming sections with the Werehog just dramatically makes things worse. And yeah, there's a Voltron. But what I was really getting at, what I was wanting to get at the whole of this video, was just the fact of it's a good idea reporting these same old games. I mean, not a super great idea. That's why I'm putting out the podcast in the first place, or Srashlancast, my bad. Because you can bank on nostalgia as much as you want. The Contra collection and the Castlevania collection for Konami, those are admittedly good ideas because they never have reported them in a while. But since Sonic has done this multiple times, I've had, at least in the sense of Sonic Origins, I had the GameCube copy, or I still have the GameCube copy of Sonic Mega Collection, and that compiles all of them except for Sonic CD. So the same thing with Sonic Origins. If you haven't played them before, like if you want to experience them for the first time, I understand that. But if you're going to, not offer anything different and kind of just, do the same thing each time, then, that's kind of a wasted effort. That's not worth it overall. Specifically speaking, like they kind of did the same thing where Sonic Origins, which was made by the guys that ported the Xbox 360 copy of Sonic CD, which is a good thing. That works well. That was the first time I experienced Sonic CD. They made Sonic Origins, and I kind of understand of trying to remain that old mindset of, if we stay in 2D, it will be good no matter what. But at the same time, if you really want to evolve, you gotta keep trying, instead of going back to resting on your laurels as per as per not tradition but as a defense tactic. So that's kind of my 2 cents. I kind of wish they, again, like I was saying, I kind of wish they would port a polished up version of the 3D games, especially Unleashed and '06 specifically, because I saw that they relisting it on Xbox 360, but unfortunately you can't. They haven't made it back and pat on Xbox One. So I kind of wish they had a collection of all the games. And this has been a Srashlancast. Thank you for watching.